Hi everyone, welcome back to RC Pi. Today we're going to do a group test of some 1/24th scale crawlers. We've got 4 to look at. We've got the FTX Outback Mini 2, both the Ranger version and the Paso. We've got the FTX Outback Mini 3 Ranger, and we've also got the Element Enduro 24 Sendero. So we'll put those through their paces at a variety of tests. Got them all down here so that we can give them points for each test. Things like looks, their ability to climb and descend and over rougher stuff, their technical and control skills and qualities. And we'll see which one we'd recommend at the end. Just so you know, these are all a similar sort of price point. They're all kind of £70 to £100. These are all my own trucks or the family's trucks. So we're going to compare how these go, see what we find out. So we've got the 2 FTX Outback Mini 2s here, the Paso and the Ranger. Here's the transmitter for each of those. It's got your trim controls on there, a 3rd channel button and a channel reverse button. One of the nice things with these, as they are basically all the same, you can release the top from the transmitter, and this is just the battery case in here. So you could just have one on the go and just change it over for all the different top sections, slide those back together, and you're good to go. You only need one set of batteries. It's a USB charger, as you'd expect with this sort of unit, for the little lipos that come in here. So under the bodies, dead simple with the Ranger, nothing complicated about that, taking it off. With the Paso it's slightly different because the lights in the Paso are actually mounted inside the body, so you have got that trailing wire. It's not quite as tidy. The lights in the Ranger are in the bumpers, so that's a bit simpler. Each of these, well, you can see they're exactly the same running gear. What you'd expect, the ladder chassis, a metal ladder chassis, and basically a mini version of all your large crawlers. Nice pieces of kit. You've got beadlock rims on there, holding those tyres nice. The tyres are nice and grippy, nice and soft. You've got centre mounted motor there and rear mounted battery. It's 600 milliamp hour LiPo. Here we've got the FTX Outback Mini 3. Here's the transmitter for that. Basically the same unit, but we've got these analogue knobs for your steering and throttle, trim and dual rate. 3rd channel again, steer and reverse again. Pretty much, but not quite the same charger for the LiPo. And let's have a look under this hood. So it is a slightly different unit. We've got a front mounted motor on this, right next to the servo there. Central transfer box. Still a rear mounted battery. The battery on this is only a 520 milliamp hour, so a bit smaller than on the Mini 2, which is a bit strange. But overall, a kind of similar makeup as with most crawlers. All looks pretty good. What I have noticed, and I've changed, is in the box, because the suspension is under compression, these springs were very much compressed, so I've replaced those. I've replaced the shocks with new ones, and it's really benefited it a lot. You were getting crazy torque roll, all sorts of strangeness, and it was sitting really low before. So some new springs in there have made a heck of a difference to that. When you look at the front of this and the suspension, does seem to be bottoming out a bit, but actually, when you're just raising one wheel, it's not an issue at all, and it's not something that you notice whilst using it. We've got the lights in the bumpers again in this unit. Different tyres, different wheels to the 2. These are single piece rims glued on, but the tyres are probably a little bit grippier. Overall, quite a nice unit. It'd be interesting to see how the front mounted motor changes performance of this unit. And here we've got the associated Enduro 24 Sendero. You might have a bit of a surprise here, because when I take the lid off this, oh, shock and horror, it looks exactly the same as the FTX Outback Mini 3. It's the same unit. Just about everything in there is exactly the same. Same size battery, 520 milliamp hour. The front mounted motor is the same. I can't really see any difference there whatsoever. Same wheels, same tyres. Not really anything to be said. Oh, the wheels aren't actually the same. They are slightly different, but makes no difference. The same tyres on them, and they are still single piece and glued. The only difference, of course, is the body mounts, because you've got a high body on that Outback and this low pickup body on here. Now that I would expect to make a bit of a difference with the lower centre of gravity. The transmitters as well, exactly the same. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to look at today is the looks of them. Now obviously that is personal opinion, but for a lot of people the scale look is very important, and so we have a look at the amount of detail on these bodies. Now to me, bottom of the pile has to be the Sendero. Although the pickup look might be one that's very, very popular for a lot of people, there's just not much detail on here. As with all of them, it's got stickers for windows, which is fair enough, but there's very little body detail on there. You've got the lights in the bumpers, which isn't that realistic. In fact, saying that, there aren't even any rear lights on this one, so that is the one difference between that and the Outback Mini 3. But yeah, very, very little detail on there at all. Although it might be very practical, it's not a looker, and the graphics on there are very childish. So that's going to come in fourth. Now I think third is going to be this, the Outback Mini 2, the Ranger. It's a nice unit. I mean, I really, really like it, but the colours aren't very exciting for a start. It's still got those lights in the bumper. Overall, nice looking thing, but just doesn't excite. So that's going to come in third. Second for me would be the Ranger 3. Very, very nice looking body. Stickers again, but they've upped the quality of those stickers. The windows and the lights all look much nicer. Still got those lights in the bumper, which, although it's practical, doesn't look as nice. Nice to have the spare tyre on the back, as with the Ranger 2, and the roll cage on the outside of that sets it off quite nicely as well. A bit of a looker. Oh, and proper wing mirrors, adjustable wing mirrors no less. Nothing shiny on there. Maybe a sticker on there would have been nice. And in first place, I think the best looking of all these cars has to be the Paso.
That's mine. That is my multiple car.
I know, but now you've said something and you're on the video. So you have to be quiet, okay?
Okay.
Right, so I think in first place has to be the Paso. Very, very nice looking piece of kit. The colour might not be for everyone. There are 2 colours of this available. But the level of detail on it is fantastic, with a stuck-on grille. You've got the headlights actually in there behind those grates, and not in the bumper, although the bumper's still nice. The roof rack and the light bar up there, not working. You could probably rig that up if you wanted to. We've got the snorkel on there as well. The mirrors actually have reflective stickers on there, which is pretty cool. Still got the spare wheel. It's just a beautiful little body, I have to say. It's stunning. I do worry a little bit about the practicality of it, but just from a looks point of view, that to me is head and shoulders above the rest of them. Okay, so we've got some good trucks there. You'll all have your own opinions, but I've got to rank them. Now, in last place, we've definitely got the Sendero. To me, those graphics on that body, it's kind of like the ugly stepsister trying to put on more makeup to make it better and has actually failed massively. Next, we've got the Ranger, nice looking truck. The Ranger 3, very good looking. And the Paso coming out on top. But can it back it up? Can it back up those looks? Or is it just that guy trying to look the part, doing the shopping in his activewear? Let's see. Next, we're going to do a climb test. So we're going to do different ascents. Now, these are quite slippery and we'll progress how steep the slope is and see which truck copes with them the best. Okay, first slope should be pretty straightforward. All up there, no problem at all. Now let's see what we do. Oh, Paso's given up already. Everyone else managing that one okay. Sendero's going for the steepest slope. The other two have failed. No problem there for the Sendero. Can it do an even steeper one? Wheel spinning on that slippy MDF. It's still just about getting up. So that's the climb test. Now, I think the Paso actually forgot it was supposed to be an off-roader. I know that's a slippy slope, but come on, it's not even made an effort. Next, we've got the Ranger 3, bit top heavy, and the Ranger 2, followed by the Sendero, which was superb, head and shoulders above the others, to be honest. Probably that low centre of gravity from that simple body. Next, we're going to do a descent test, so pretty much the reverse of that. Let's see how those tyres and how those body shapes help on a descent. So all making light work of that first descent and going back for some more. Oh, Paso's out already. And the two Rangers, leaving just the Sendero. Well, how about that? The Paso wasn't very interested in that test. Clearly had somewhere better to go. And the Ranger 2 and 3 must have heard it had gone to a good pub and wanted to catch up. Whereas the Sendero, that was so disinterested in leaving that it hung around until even the cameraman had gone home. Now the next test is going to be a traverse. So we're driving across the side of a slope, just seeing what that traction's like and see whether the centre of gravity affects that at all. Well, the Paso's struggling already here with all that weight up top of the body shell. The Sendero's working through from one slope to the next, to the point where I had to put a rock to hold the slope in position. Ranger 2's gone there. Ranger 3 gone. Now, I'm not sure if the Paso even understands the concept of keeping four wheels on the ground, but despite that, the Ranger 2 and the Ranger 3 didn't do much better. So they're all sharing the points, getting 2 each. Whereas the Sendero, again, has absolutely smashed this test. In fact, it was getting a bit cocky going through 4 different gradients. But what can you do? The next test is a technical climb, so it's pretty bumpy. There's a lot of rocks and sticks on the slope. So we'll see how they cope with that. Now, the first problem on these slopes is the gaps between these stones are actually quite big, and it makes it hard to get a smooth start onto that slope. But they all manage the first one. Struggling to get a bit of traction, a couple of them there, still managing to get up. Paso, yeah, just about made it. Now is it getting a bit steep? Yeah, a couple of those. Paso and the Ranger not quite managing to keep the wheels on the ground. The Ranger 3's gone as well. Sendero's struggling for traction, but still coping with the incline. Now that's a very straightforward, but a pretty tricky test for all of them. Now the Sendero has bossed that, making the most of its slim build, keeping its feet planted all the time to get that traction. The Ranger 2 and the Paso, they've got slightly better clearance across their axles, which I think has helped them, whereas the Ranger 3, that's got that smoother power delivery, So they're all just about even. So we're sharing the points again there. And the next test is a log test. So we're going over several logs. It's a bit of an issue of traction, a bit of an issue of that sort of breakover clearance between the wheels. Let's see how they perform. Now these logs are pretty slippery, but the Ranger 3 has gone straight over there. It's quite impressive. Good traction on those tyres. The others all struggling to get on, but got through there. Yeah, no real problems. Ranger 3 just struggling to get onto that big first log going back. Blimey, they were hard to split. But the Ranger 3 was the one car there that went straight over in the first direction. So for that, even though it struggled with that front traction trying to get back over the logs, for its first run and the poise going through it all, I'm going to give that the biggest piece of the pie. Now the other three all did all right, but they're going to have to scrabble around the plate looking for the crumbs. Now the next test is a technical run. So we're going over a series of blocks. It's a good work of the suspension, it's a good work of the steering, and it's a good work of that overall poise and balance again. So let's see which one performs best there. So I'm trying to take the same line with all four trucks over here. Just see which one can cope with the sudden differences in the blocks. Keep that traction, keep that body poised. Sendero's done really well, very quick, but the others are still doing equally well, just taking the time a little more. We'll put that down to my driving. The FTX Mini 2s are having to cope with that slightly weaker servo, so you've got to make sure that your line is right because there's less adjustment to be had on your way. Now when I first made that section of track, I really thought it was going to be a challenge, and I wanted it to be. But I have to say, all of those dealt with it fantastically well. So we're going to have to just split the points on that, and everybody is getting 3. Next test, we're going to do a bit of a control test. So again, it's a technical run, but we've got a couple of logs like rails, and they've got some little logs that go across there, which makes it really, really tricky to make sure your steering and your speed control are really good, or you're going to fall off the side of the logs. So you'll see what the challenge is like, and let's see how they do. And this does pose quite a tricky challenge with these slippy logs and then those transverse logs across them. It's really trying to throw these tyres off the route, but they all seem to be coping quite well. One thing that I do need to mention is the way that both the Outback 3 and the Sendero are packaged. When I've opened those up, the springs have been really compressed and they've not been riding properly at all. So you've got two options there. You can either replace the springs on those or stretch them out yourselves. I've got them both to work okay after that, but it was a bit of an issue. You can see the Outback Mini 2s, they've just been struggling a little bit with that poorer speed controller. So it's a bit harder to moderate you go forward. So you've got to just take your time, get it right. That is the most difficult section of track I've made so far. Now, whether it was just my genius driving or whether they're all brilliant cars, who can say? But they all did really, really well. I'm really surprised and impressed. But bringing up the rear is the Paso. Even though it was slightly quicker than the Ranger, it wasn't quite as controlled. And in second place, the Sendero, with the Ranger 3, just showing that poise again. It's, although technically the Ranger 3 and the Sendero are the same car underneath, Sendero's gearbox is just that little bit tighter, so it just doesn't feel quite as smooth. So the Ranger's getting the points there. The last thing to compare today is going to be value for money. Now, although these are in the same sort of ballpark, they are all a different price. So we've got the cheapest are the Outback Mini 2s. Those are coming in at £70 or about $95. The Sendero, that is coming in at £99, so about $135, something like that. So premium price on that. And the Ranger 3, although it's the same running gear, it's basically the same car as the Sendero, that is only coming in at £80 or $110. So to me, that has to represent the best value for money out of these. So that's getting the 4 points, and the others are sharing, depending on whether you want the budget car or the one that's premium price. You know, it's this Element brand on it. Associated have always been a premium brand, so you can pay for that, or you could just get the cheap and cheerful, which are almost as capable, but I think that puts them on a level. That's all the tests done then. We need to add up the scores, and I'm intrigued to see what they come to. So, the Ranger 2, we've got a total of 20 points there. The Paso, 18. The Ranger 3, 27. And the Sendero, 27 as well. Well, we've got a tie. Who would have thought? Just looking at those, the Ranger 2, you know, it's a good solid score. It's a good all-rounder. The Paso, it kind of shows. You can wear your gym kit to go for a kebab, but it doesn't make you an athlete. The Sendero is kind of the opposite. It's just like, I don't care what I look like. Just watch what I can do. And the Ranger 3, well, it looks great and it performs great. So, if I was to buy one, which one would I buy? I think I would go for a Ranger 3. For that difference in price, I could buy another body, another lightweight body, maybe a pickup, and get it so you can have a bit of a shelf queen and a show pony as well. So, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's been useful to you. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you again on RC Pie.